I was clearing up to win, and I don't know if you ever saw it, but I had a black to win the match and win the Open, and my elbows nearly hit someone in the next building. But at the same time, it's the same for everybody. So it's got to be down to me. There's got to be something within me or my mindset that's not allowing me to get over the line. And I went over as an intrigued 13-year-old and saw him turn a boiled egg into a silk handkerchief. And as a 13-year-old, my jaws hit the floor, my tongue's out. I'm like, what is going on here? You know, could not believe my eyes.
Right, Greg, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the podcast, mate.
Pleasure.
We're going to take a look at hopefully most of your career,
Okay.
and you can give us a little bit of a backstory as to how it all got started. You started out like a lot of pool players, I'd imagine, from sort of a snooker background. What sort of age did you kind of start, and who was the catalyst to get you started?
Yeah, so as you say, exactly right. I started off a snooker player. I realized I wasn't quite good enough, and I think it was around 2012, 2013. A friend of mine called Paul Mouldin, who ran Beard Productions, he was a decent player in his own right, and he was playing at the club one day, and I think I'd just finished taking a hammering off of Sam Baird in the snooker room, and he said, "Oh, why don't you just have a game of pool?" So I was like, "Oh, my 8-ball is rubbish," you know, the usual sort of concept. And but I started playing, ended up becoming once a week sort of thing, and then he persuaded me to join his local pool league, and I realized, oh, actually, I might be all right at this, and it just went from there, really.
I mean, like thousands of kids, I mean, I'm assuming there was an aspiration at the beginning to become a professional player. Like how close were you to that? Like, did you do any of like Q school or anything of that nature?
Yeah, so with regards to snooker, so my claim to fame is that I appeared on Junior Big Break when I was 14 alongside Mark Selby. And I got to the semi-finals of the English under-18s. I think myself and Mike King were widely regarded as the next up and coming around this area, certainly sort of Devon. And we used to travel the country together. His mum and dad used to take me around. My dad used to take us around. And yeah, I mean, I'd have loved to have been a professional snooker player. Snooker will always be my sort of first love, if you like. But I was very close to getting on the tour when I was 17. I just missed by a couple of places on the old tour system. And then I tried again back in, I want to say 2011, 2012 on the old Q School. And I lost out in the penultimate round to Scott Donaldson, who we just saw qualify for the UK Championship.
Yeah.
So I was pretty close. A lot of the people still say I should give it a go even now, but crikey, I'm getting so many grey hairs. It's I don't think my wife and children would let me do that. So, but the good thing with the pool is you don't need to put in quite so many hours, you know.
It was quite cutthroat then. So like if you were starting off a similar age to Mark Selby and that, you know, it was a very tough standard back then, yeah?
It was, but even back then, you know, me and Mike King, we were big fish in a small pond, if you like. You know, once you went further afield to the likes of the Willie Thorne Snooker Centre in Leicester, you would be able to see the slight level difference between the likes of us and your Mark Selby's, your Ricky Waldens, Craig Taylors, Luke Fishers, who are sort of our age category back then, you know. And it's the same with any sport, isn't it? There's levels.
You said Scott Donaldson. Was he 5-0 down to Bingham on 165 the other day?
Yeah, I was watching actually last night because I couldn't sleep for a change. And Bingham was 5-0 up, and I don't know whether it was a mixture of he sort of collapsed a little bit, and Donaldson started playing phenomenally well. It was just one of those games. Unfortunately, Stuart will want to forget it, and it might be the catalyst for Donaldson doing really well in the event. You know.
Excellent. Do you you kind of answered the question a little bit earlier on. So you didn't dabble at all in pool in the early days when you were playing snooker, you were just...
No, so the very first time I played pool, I was, I want to say 29, 30 maybe. So I've only been playing for, maybe 12 or 13 years since I started pool. Yeah.
So obviously, coming from the snooker background, you've got a great technique. So the pot inside of it for any snooker player that switches over, they find fairly easy to start with. Do you remember there being a point where you saw somebody do something, or you thought, actually, there's a bit more to this game than you initially thought?
Yeah, I remember it very well. So I'd only been playing pool for maybe 6 months, and I was really doing well in the leagues with Paul Moulding. I was beating most players locally. And then I thought, you know what, this is easy, this game. I'll go and show people what I can do in a tournament situation. So I went to the Manor in Columpton, which is fairly local to where I live. There was a singles event going on, and I got through to the final. I thought, God, no problem at all. And I came up against a guy called Dave Williams. Didn't have a clue who he was. I was watching him play and thinking, he looks terrible. His action's all over the show. This will be a walk in the park. Anyway, it was a race to 9, and he proceeded to destroy me 9 frames to 2 or something daft. And from that moment on, I had a newfound respect for the game of 8-ball and for Dave Williams.
Awesome player. So how long after? So obviously you started playing a few competitions. Obviously, ended up in the men's international sides. So what was the kind of gap between starting competitive pool to eventually getting into the international side?
I want to say it took me a good 3 or 4 years, maybe a bit longer actually, because I was quite lucky because I entered the Plymouth Singles League on a Monday night pretty quick into my pool journey. And crikey, you had the likes of Jamie Graham, Jez Graham, Paul Bolston, Darren McVicker, Jamie Zambuni, Matt Walker when he was playing a lot. You had the cream of sort of Plymouth and sort of Cornwall all playing on a Monday night in a race to 9 league format. And I think the first 2 or 3 years I finished near to bottom or near to middle. I was chuffed to bits if I won a match. And obviously this is world rules as well. So I really learned the craft of playing world rules. I was brought up with Paul Bolston at the other end of the queue, putting me in positions I didn't have a clue how to get out of. And just learning the patterns and learning the nuances of that game was, I found, really difficult. I didn't pick up on it that quickly, but the beauty of it was I had a very, very good grounding in pool playing those types of caliber of people. And I very quickly got up to speed because I got so depressed driving home every Monday night, having been pumped. I thought, Christ, I've got to what's going on? So yeah, that fast tracked my progress. I know for sure.
Did you win many of these events leading up to getting into the international team, or was it just mainly the league that you were playing?
Yeah. So I'd by then I'd won a couple of those money leagues down in Plymouth. I'd played for the county side for a few years. I think I must have finished very high on the national averages and things like that to then go to the singles and things like that. I remember I had to qualify in order to obviously become an England player, which I did. And I'm not sure whether it was my first or second attempt. I think it was probably my second, maybe even my third attempt. Really, I was really proud to play for England. I actually played for the C team. I didn't play for the A or the B team. I was in the C team with John Rowe, with just saying his name alone, the fact that he was playing in the C team tells you how standard the standard was. Absolutely loved playing for England for that. I only played once. I just wanted to sort of tick it off, if you like. Yeah.
So that must have been the Europeans you played in, was it?
Sorry, the Europeans. That's right.
Yeah, the Europeans. Yeah. So what was the reason for stepping away? Did you then have internals for the Worlds, or what?
No, I just only wanted to do it once. I never really, I don't know why, I never really enjoyed the team sort of format, if you like. Maybe I was just a bit selfish. I wanted to be a singles player, and I wanted to pursue singles trophies and wins and things like that. I don't know, maybe I'm just not a team player, but yeah, I just wanted to pursue the singles events and things like that.
Excellent. Well, you obviously come from a county, as you just mentioned, that's produced some brilliant players over the years. One in particular, my old mate, Jason Twist.
Yeah.
Now, he played a massive part in my career, if you like, because he was in the England side when I first got in there, and he was my roommate for sort of 3 or 4 years. Did you get a chance to spend a lot of time with him?
I did. I was very lucky, actually. So again, progressing into my career and after England and things like that, obviously maybe Jason had started to hear my name a little bit. I'd certainly known of who he was for many years. And they used to do a couple of really good competitions down in Ilfracombe where he lived. And I managed to win a couple of them, but I also managed to play Jason in a very big competition in Plymouth. It was the Southwest Elite, I think it was called. It was just 16 players. You had Jason, Oli Bale, some really, really good, all of the Plymouth top boys, myself, Mike King. And I managed to play Jason in one of the finals and actually have a win against him. And from there, we just started becoming good friends. I used to go to his house. He booked me for a couple of exhibitions, which I just thought, that blew my mind, actually, because I thought one of the best players of all time be booking a journeyman nobody like me to go and do some exhibitions. But he was just such a brilliant guy. Plus, he'd seen my magic tricks, so that was the main reason. But yeah, he was just an amazing guy, and I learned an awful lot just by watching him. The skill he had on the pool table was second to none, really, and he was a god down in Ilfracombe. Everybody loved him, and I was very, very fortunate to spend a bit of time with him come the end.
Yeah, his touch was unbelievable. The way he would move the cue ball around. I don't know. I'm not saying it's different from other players, but I didn't see many people that would like caress a cue ball around the table like him.
Well, yeah, and again, I mean, I don't think over the years, certainly you can think on your off the top of your head a handful of times where somebody's just played completely lights out pool against you. And one of the times I was playing Jason and he did exactly that to me. I hardly got a shot, and I was just watching him and thinking that, yeah, this is a few levels above, the way he hit the ball, as you rightly say. His tip was like a toothpick. It was so small. I'm thinking, how is he not miscuing with this thing? But it was just effortless. And the way he manipulated the white, you could learn so much just from watching him,
Yeah. I think a lot of people talk about sort of the greatest of all time, and I'm not saying he gets overlooked, but I look at when he won his world titles and his European titles and all that, and it was right in the era that all those players that get talked about as the best ever were in their pomp.
Yeah, and he was beating them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it? I think all of that type of discussion, it's all opinions at the end of the day. I for one hold him in the highest regard from the people that I've seen ever play pool. And I've watched a lot of the videos of back then, when he was in those finals and just how he played. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, brilliant player. So you've proved to be a top player in your own right at any rule set, to be honest. When you started, you said at world rules, and then it kind of flipped to, I guess you played a bit of black ball rules and then international rules now. Do you feel that with each rule set change, it suits your game more? Or is there one that you kind of, that's the rule set that you think you are best suited to?
Yeah, I think that I worked so hard to become good at world rules that in the end I became a very dogmatic, nasty player in world rules. I could clear them up, but I could also really enjoy a tactical frame, and I think I got so much out of world rules because I'd worked so hard to become good at the rules that I wasn't too happy when I went to sort of black ball, and even international. I think there's merit in all three of those disciplines. I guess I would say that international suits my game the best because, in truth, my strength is my potting and my positional play. And I think with international rules, it's a pretty simple game. You clear them up, you break well, and you win for the most part. And there is also some technical aspects to international rules which are sometimes overlooked.
Mhm.
So yeah, I do like these. I do like these rules now, and I guess they probably do suit my best attributes, if you like.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but international rules is the only rule set that I've come to a table and looked at and gone, I have not got a clue what to do now.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, that is the. I guess that is the only thing you can look at. I used to do that with world rules though, and Blackpool. You come to the table sometimes and think, well, the rule set doesn't allow me to play what I want to play now, or I'm in a position where how do I get out of this? It's impossible, you know. So yeah, there's I suppose there's always different ways of looking at it, you know. But I try and remain positive in whatever rule set comes out.
Going back to Blackpool, obviously you played on the IPA tour. I mean, how long were you a part of that, and is there any kind of fond memories from that?
I want to say maybe 3 or 4 seasons, possibly. Again, I might be wrong. And yeah, some really good memories. Playing back then with the likes of Jack Whelan, Clint Ianson, Mark Farnsworth, Ronan McCarthy. Again, the best of the best on the IPA, Mark Boyle. And I suppose my highlight would be winning the amateur tour on the first year I entered it, which gave me pro status. That was amazing. Finished top of the rankings, and in the pro ranks, I got to one of the open tour finals, losing to John McAllister, where I I played the best pool I could possibly play. Didn't miss one ball, and I was clearing up to win. And I don't know if you ever saw it, but I had a black to win the match and win the open, and my elbows nearly hit someone in the next building. It was that bad, and that still haunts me today. But yeah, some really good memories from playing in that tour.
It's funny you say that because I do remember that. I mean, I can't remember what year it would have been, but I would have been quite young. I do remember a story of it was something like it would have been probably a race to 8, and it was like 7-all, and you both had like 7 dishes or something stupid, and it was, and obviously that was the only ball missed. So obviously some good memories from the IPA. So how did it kind of transition to Ultimate? Like, were you there on the first season or?
I was there on the first season. I think I was asked to become a part of it. I can't remember exactly how it happened, but yeah, I was fortunate in that I didn't have to qualify, so I started as one of the pros, which is always easier than having to go through the minefield of qualifying, especially with the level of talent that are in the so-called amateurs these days. Half of them are just as good as the pros, in my opinion. But yeah, that sort of took off, and I'm obviously currently there at the moment. I think I'm currently the highest ranked professional around our area, which is something to be proud of. What Shane has done previously is just incredible, and I think I'm talking to two of the best in the Southwest currently. In you guys, so we've got such a, I think, strong crop of players, around the Southwest. It was inevitable that one of us was going to win some trophies, and obviously what Shane did was incredible.
Yeah, it was. So you've got probably one of the best Ultimate Pool shirts out of all the professionals.
Oh, thank you very much.
That's fair to say. Now, Alex kind of told me the other day where the nickname came from, but would you mind sort of explaining a bit more about the Pac-Man?
So it came from I won the Players Amateur Championships, so PAC, I think that was back in 2017. Yeah, I think so. I think it came from there. I had a really good weekend. That's the most money as well that I've ever picked up in one tournament. I think I won £7,500 for that weekend, which is incredible for playing pool. And I played Seb Webb in the final. I'm sure you remember Seb Webb. But I'd gone through a really stellar lineup in that tournament, and again, I've still got the trophy home here. It's one of my proudest moments. But that's where it came from.
Brilliant. So if we look at your Pro Series results from this past year, I don't know how you feel about it, because I kind of felt it in some of the events I played with Ottoman Pool, but you seem to play the same players a lot of the time. So you've played Radmack and Carl Sutton twice and Jaden 3 times, and all of them are in the first or second round.
Yeah, I got absolutely fed up with playing Jaden. He's destroyed me both every time. It does feel like that sometimes, and I do my best to go into each match with you're playing the balls, you're not playing the opponent, and all that good stuff. But sometimes when you do draw somebody twice on the trot, you're just thinking, especially if it's going to be a very tough game as well, which they all are. But Jaden, I was like when I drew him again, and funnily enough, he's in my draw for the Pro Cup in December, just to top it off. So but surely it's got to be my turn to beat him next. So fingers crossed.
I think that's a good way of looking at it. That's a way that I look at it. If someone's beat me 2 or 3 times in a row, you just go, well, law of averages says at some
I'm
point.
due one. Yeah, exactly. I got to be due one soon.
Have you found the the transition to arenas this season? Obviously, you've been on the pro circuit since the beginning. We found out. So, how have you found it? The transition to arenas?
Yeah, I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved Wigan, the first event. I thought that was absolutely incredible. The work that they'd done, the way they'd set everything out, it was just amazing. So much hard work has gone into it. And I really liked it. I think every time you're making the game more professional, making it more accessible for spectators, that's what we all want, isn't it? And there's nothing better than playing in a amazing setup arena where there's hopefully an audience behind you watching. And even the outer tables, there was so much space around them. People can watch you. You feel more like you're a professional, And I think that's the good thing for the Challenger Tour, and that they were coming through and having a look. And I'm sure a lot of the younger players were probably thinking, I want a slice of this, I want to sample this sort of atmosphere and stuff. So yeah, I really liked it.
I guess that answers the follow-up question of that you prefer it to obviously back in the hotel days.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I do again, and I think this probably stems back from me wanting to be more of a singles player than a team player, because I would imagine that when you play for your county and then you play for your international squad, English squad or whatever, you would sort of really enjoy that, staying in the hotel. You've got everybody there. You pop downstairs and you can have a drink with all your friends. Whereas when you're playing at these arenas, most people are spaced out in different hotels, sometimes miles away, and it's more of an isolated thing, I guess. Obviously, you see everybody at the venues and you're there all day, so it's not too much different. But I do prefer that sort of more solitary aspect, I guess, in terms of just knowing what you got to do. You're on your own and trying to do it,
Excellent. So last week we spoke with Cole Bedford. Now, I had a quick look at the rankings over the sort of like the 2-year ranking list, and you and him are sort of very close in those rankings.
Yeah.
It's fair to say that I would say you're a much more consistent performer than Cole, but Cole's obviously had 2 massive wins this season, British Open and the French one. Do you think there's anything you need to work on to take yourself from being a consistent performer to somebody that can win events? Or is it just simply that the standard's so high that it's just a matter of waiting for your chance and see if you could take it when it comes along?
I think I think it comes down to me, and I think it comes down to how much effort I'm willing to put in, to be quite honest. One thing I would say is I found that when the first tables came out on the Ultimate Pool with the tighter pockets, that suited my game a lot better. And if you go back to those results, I got to the semi-finals of the second event and lost to Craig Waddingham again in a incredibly high standard match. I missed one ball to win the match. And I just found that it suited my game because of my cueing, and other people were missing shots, whereas perhaps they're not missing them now. But at the same time, it's the same for everybody. So it's got to be down to me. There's got to be something within me or my mindset that's not allowing me to get over the line. I've had some pretty major personal troubles this year. Unfortunately, my wife's not been very well at all, which has set me back. And I definitely didn't practice at all for a good 3 or 4 months during the early part of this year. And, it made me reevaluate whether I was even going to play pool, to be honest, with what was going on. But fortunately, in touch wood, we're in a slightly more positive position now and going forward, hopefully. So I will be putting the work in again on the pool table.
That's great to hear, because from an outsider looking in, you're sort of somebody that I'd look at and be like, I don't really see a weakness, like as in great technique, great potter, great cue ball, brilliant temperament. You kind of got all the ingredients, if you like, to win tournaments.
Yeah, I think the if I'm being brutally honest, the thing that's always held me back is my own belief. So my dad, who was my biggest and best fan, and I loved him to bits, he used to travel the country with me and take me everywhere. He was very close to becoming a professional footballer in his own right, but he didn't know how to manage his emotions when I lost when I was a junior. And so he would forever be saying, "You rubbish, you're this, you're that," and and he'd give me the odd clip round the ear and stuff. And I don't know if you ever remember Mike Gold, the snooker player, but his dad was similar. And I just feel like if you're a child and you're growing up and you take some of that on board, and it's in your subconscious that you're not good enough, or you're not quite as good as the other players, a little bit of that sticks with you. And it wasn't my dad's fault. He just wanted me to do so well, but he didn't know how to sort of communicate if I lost, It's just one of those things. And I think, unfortunately, some of that has stuck with me. And, some people say that about my snooker. I probably underachieved in terms of what I could have done. And I'm probably doing just as well at snooker now as I've ever done, because I hardly ever practice. But the difference is my mind. I go in there and I don't care at all. I just go to really enjoy it and have a few pints. And I think that is the best thing you can do, to just letting your arm go and playing freely and just enjoying it, So I had hypnotherapy. Crikey, I did a 6-week course in hypnotherapy about 5 or 6 years ago because I had the yips. So even though my cue action might look really smooth, there's some underlying tremors and cracks and all sorts going on. Not so much anymore, touch wood, but yeah, I've been through the mill with it all,
I guess a great follow-up question really is, obviously you've got the Pro Cup coming up next month.
Yeah.
And then obviously we've got a bit of time until the first events in March and April. So you say about belief and obviously how much time you put into it. Will you be putting a lot of time, you think, in those kind of months, or are you going to take some time off?
Yeah, so I mean, I obviously, speaking to my wife and everything, I've written off this year. I think I'm going to go to the Pro Cup. I'll probably practice a couple of weeks before the Pro Cup, just on my own, and then as of the new year is when I'll start ramping up properly, and maybe driving out to practice with Shane, and Scott comes here sometimes, Scott Pope, and I'll try and do a bit more of that practice with other players, because solo practice is great, but there's no substitute for playing people that are going to punish you if you make mistakes, and that was what I was doing when I was doing really well.
Absolutely.
So are you a goal setter for a season, or do you just kind of take one event at a time. So not necessarily this past season, but obviously with a few issues, but
Yeah,
sort of moving on next
previously,
season.
yeah, previously I was
Yeah.
very much right. I wanted to get in the top 8. I wanted to win an event. Got close to doing that, obviously with the semis with Craig. I felt like I was playing the best of anyone that tournament.
I remember.
Yeah, but didn't quite happen. So yeah, I am somebody that normally sets pretty high standards for myself, and I'll definitely be doing that again the next season. I don't want to have another season where I'm just milling about the same position and winning a few rounds, losing, or winning a round and then losing. That's not what I want to do. I'd rather not play if that's going to happen. But this year has been an exceptional circumstances, so hopefully that is rectified. And it's definitely, as I'm sure you guys know, if things out of pool, sometimes you realize what's really important in life, and it gives you a better perspective going into a new season. It certainly has for me, and I definitely think I'll enjoy it more next year, and value just playing, having the freedom to actually have a game of pool and being able to do it with no stress and worry in the back of your mind.
So a slight change of topic, but a topic I'm really excited to talk about. So you mentioned it earlier about your magic tricks. I'm lucky enough to have seen it a bit in person. Obviously, you did a bit online. I think maybe during COVID times, I'd have said.
Yeah.
It's clear that obviously you're very good at it. I think we've actually spoke about this, but for people that are watching, what made you kind of get into magic, and what kind of, has it been more of a hobby throughout your life, or is it always something you've wanted to pursue?
Yeah, so it started when I was about 12 or 13 years old. I was playing snooker in the Sybil Snooker Club in Exeter, and a guy called Ian Eva, it was his dad who was doing a magic trick just in the corner of the room, and I went over as an intrigued 13-year-old and saw him turn a boiled egg into a silk handkerchief. And as a 13-year-old, my jaws hit the floor, my tongue's out. I'm like, what is going on here? Could not believe my eyes. And so I went over to him. I said, Mister, is there any chance possibly that you could tell me how to do that? And he wouldn't. But what he did say to me is, if you get in touch with this guy, he's a magician. It was his dad. And he teaches people. So I spoke to my mum from memory. My mum made, he was vetted and all the rest of it. And so I used to actually, the first couple of weeks, my mum dropped me into Exeter. I went to his house. And after that, I started catching the bus in every week, once a week. And he was so strict. He was an old guy. He was in his 80s then, I think. And he had this walking stick. He was so strict on me. I had to pay him £5 every week that I went to see him. And he'd teach me a trick. And he said, right, I'll teach you a trick. He said, but you have to come back next week and show me. And if it doesn't fool me, I'm not showing you another trick. And I'm handing out fivers to this guy every week. It's part of my bloody lunch money. So I'm starving just to pay this guy. And yeah, he was so strict. I think I learned 4 tricks in the whole of the first year of going to see him. I was fuming. But if it wasn't for him, he was called Ron. If it wasn't for Ron, I wouldn't be able to have done, I ended up doing weddings. I was doing parties and functions in my spare time. It was more of a hobby than it was a job or anything like that. But, you can earn really good money doing that type of thing. And yeah, I just really enjoyed doing it. And as Alex, as you rightly say, during COVID, I thought, I'll just set up a little channel and do some tricks, and people seem to really like it. I think I get bored easily, so maybe I'm like a jack of all trades, master of nothing. Maybe I should just focus on one thing, and But yeah, it's been brilliant magic. It was how I ensnared Lucy, my wife. I got her on the magic tricks when I first took her out, and that seemed to do the trick. She now despises them. But yeah, it was a great way of meeting people when I was younger, and it's something different, isn't it? You go into a pub and there's not really normally anyone that's doing magic tricks or things like that, So yeah, it's a skill I'm glad I learned.
So I don't know. Most people that if they do watch this, they'll probably see that you're advertising exhibitions with Tom. I'm assuming, like, follow on from that question, like you're doing a magic element to the exhibition as well as Paul, or am I wrong in saying
Well,
that?
yeah. So obviously Tom is the lead act on the pool side of things. I'm going to be going along as a sort of backup in terms of if anybody wants to have a game with me, no problem at all. But I'll also be at some point during the night popping around to people and seeing if they want to see a magic trick. So it's adding a different element to what will already be a quality evening. Um, and we thought it was something different. Tom had seen my tricks online and on my channels, and yeah, we just thought it was again something slightly different. So
I think it's a fantastic idea. I mean, I'm assuming you probably got quite a lot of interest straight away.
yeah, we did, and unfortunately, it's just times and things like that. We position ourselves towards the end of this year, and I think we'll probably pick it up again and start promoting it again in the new year. When you've got a few more dates and things in the calendar. But yeah, we're looking forward. We're going down to Cornwall to do one in a couple of weeks, and yeah, just excited to see how it goes.
Yeah, I might try come to that. Where's that in Cornwall?
So it's going to be at down in Newquay at how is it? I can't think of the name. I'm going there
It's not
Sunday.
Edgecliff, is it?
Yeah, the Edgecliff. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm playing down the Edgecliff on this Sunday, actually, in the Champions of Champions final event. And I won that last year. I got, I think it was £1,000, and I got my own height in Carlsberg, which was quite incredible. This or Foster's, one of the two. This time it's I think it
Carlsberg.
might be something like that. So
Yeah.
I don't. I think I gave most of them away to Dermot Vicker last year, so let's see what happens this year. But to be honest, I'm not expecting to win. I'm just going down there and try my best and see what happens.
It's a great standard from the list that I've seen in the draw. So and the tables that really I've personally not been, but I've only heard good things.
Oh, it's a really great setup. Pete that runs the club, he does an amazing job, and he's got one of the tables decked out. It looks exactly like the old arena in Stoke, with the ultimate pool setup. Rob Charman obviously plays down there. I think he's highly regarded now as probably Plymouth's best player, maybe alongside Zamboni, who's still very, very, very good on his day. Dominic Clements will be there. I can't think of some of the other really good Cornish players that are in it as well. But yeah, the lineup's brilliant. And the good thing about it is all of the tables are well looked after. And that's really all you're asking for. It doesn't matter whether they're Supremes or Rassons, as long as they've got a good cloth on them and they're maintained and they run well. That's all you want, really.
Absolutely. So slightly going back to obviously talking about goal setting and kind of like what you're going to do next year, a bit of time off. Obviously, you've seen a lot of the pros on the circuit going to America and all these different events, as well as a few people in our area, especially Shane, going to Hayball. Is that anything like either America or Hayball something that you've looked at potentially in the future?
I have pondered the Hayball side because I feel like that would probably suit me best in terms of obviously with the queuing and the snooker background. But I because of what's happened at home and
Of course.
I've got two young children, it's just so difficult for me to justify going away in a different country as well as everything else that I'm already signed up to. So whilst I would probably love to give it a go, couple of things holding me back. One, I don't like to do anything unless I'm putting the full effort in. I think with something like the Chinese 8-ball, you need the right equipment, you need to be putting the hours in, you need a table really if you're going to do well at it. If you look at all of the players, it's only Gareth that's actually done amazing at that. I mean, I know Mick Hill had a really good event not quite some time ago, but it's only really Gareth that you could say he's done a really good job of, representing us over there at Hayball. I think a lot of the other players have got packages or sponsorship deals, which, take them over there regardless. So they sort of turn up and do their best. But that wouldn't be for me. I'd want to really give it everything. And I'm too old. I got my family and yeah.
It'd be one or the other, right? Like you can't, if you try do both, if you half-ass one or the other, it's probably gonna like hurt your pool English
Yeah, and I'm
pool more so.
contradicting myself really, because as I've already told you, I'm a jack of all trades, so I should be doing everything really. But yeah, the cost involved is probably too much.
Yeah,
Time wise, I've only just got enough time to do what I'm currently doing with the pool tour with Ultimate, and and I'm happy with that. And I think if I can get my focus right for next year and set myself the goal, and I know that everything's okay home here, that's really where I'm aiming,
makes sense.
Excellent. So I've got a little coaching group, and we put some feelers out for them to give you some questions. So if you don't mind, we're going to ask a couple of those.
Yeah.
One's from somebody you know very well, Sophie Gibbs Nichols.
Oh yeah.
And she said, who is the toughest opponent you've played and why? And what's your biggest mental strength in pool?
Really good questions. Toughest opponent. I mean, that's a tricky one, isn't it? Because they're just all so good. But I would probably say I'll say two. So from the IPA side, it would have definitely been Jason. So Jason Twist. So I played him a couple of times, both locally and on there. Definitely be him. And then more recently, it would probably, I would have to say,
Jaden.
well, yeah, yeah, probably Jaden, to be honest. I was going to say Phil Harrison. He was somebody I hated playing, and I've played him a few times. But yeah, we'll give it to Jaden actually on current force. And in terms of the second question about what would I say is my sort of best mental strength, just remaining calm, being completely relaxed, and do my best to detach myself emotionally from what's going on. You see some players that they're looking at their opponent, they're looking at them potting balls, they are invested mentally in what they're doing. And I think sometimes that can be the most detrimental thing you can do. So what I do is I'll be looking at my watch. I'll be focusing on the little dial going around the clock and just tunneling my mind into something completely different. But what it's actually doing is it's keeping me calm and focused, ready for when it's my go again. It's like a peripheral thing. I'm looking at the table, but I'm just detached from it mentally. And I think that's the thing that's probably my best strength, is remaining unemotional, calm, and as relaxed as possible.
So you slightly, say loosely answered this question already, but Matt Woods asks, how do you prepare for tournaments, both mentally and practice-wise?
Yeah, so what I used to do is watch quite a lot of, or listen to, I should say, quite a lot of videos on YouTube. So pre tournaments, in the run up to tournaments, I'd be listening to my hypnotherapy videos that I got. When I won the PAC, I was away all that weekend. Whenever I'd finished my match, I was going back to my room, just putting my earpods in and listening to those videos. And I'm adamant that was a big driver in me winning the event. I mean, I beat Steve Petty in the quarters, I think it was on the Sunday. And I woke up early, and all morning I was just listening to this hypnotherapy video telling me how great I was, how calm my mind's going to be, how relaxed I was, how nothing fazed me. And I played lights out against Steve in the quarters, and it just went on from there. So yeah, lots of videos, simply because it suits my mind. I don't feel like I've got as much belief as perhaps other people have. So to have something that you can anchor yourself to, like a self-help book or a video, I think is really important. And so I do a lot of that prior to events and practice. But when I say practice, I'm just going off topic here slightly, but I was playing snooker with Jay Bullen the other day in Exeter before the tournament last weekend in Weston. And I went in and I just showed Jay a couple of routines that I used to practice. And he's near enough a pro standard player. He's really good. But what was alarming is he told me he'd never done any of these routines before. And so what I'm trying to allude to is that when I practice pool, I don't just go in there and break dish. I actually put up some really difficult challenging routines for myself, shots that come up in frames, but I want to go in and practice for an hour and come out sweating and thinking, I've bloody worked hard there, because otherwise, what's the point in practicing? You can go in there for 3 hours and bash balls about and think you've done a good job, and really you haven't done anything. So if you're going to practice properly. Watch some of your routines, Gareth. Whatever you're going to do, just make sure you do it right.
Yeah, I mean, I think pool's a hard game for people who are trying to improve to actually see any improvements. With snooker, you go, if your highest break's 20 and you practice hard, then it becomes 30, 40, 50, 60. With pool, if you miss with 3 balls left and then you miss with 2 balls left, just you're going to get beat probably. So it's quite hard. So I think routines are great because it also shows people how they're improving, and there's a marker that they can aim for.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, when I was doing a lot of coaching, I'm not doing so much at the moment because of everything that's gone on. But when I was doing coaching, I don't know about you, but I would, if I had a beginner, you would start with, right, pot this 1 ball, pot these 2 balls, pot these 3 balls, and you build confidence that way. And so at the level that we play at, I'm going in there and I've got a piece of paper and I'm doing 10 breaks. If I'm getting 7 break dishes, I'm okay. The next night I'm going and I'm trying to get 8. You're always trying to improve your level. You're setting up the colours across the blue spot, as it were, and you're trying to pop the long ones, and how many am I getting? If you're not keeping a record of your progress and what you're doing, you never really know where you are. So yeah, I'm quite hard on myself and quite determined when I start working and practicing properly. And I would say for anyone that's looking to improve, don't do the easy way. Make sure you test yourself properly and stick to it day after day, or as much. If you're only practicing twice a week, if that's all you can do, make sure that those 2 sessions are really difficult for yourself.
Excellent. So Dr. Q would like to know, how do you switch between pool and snooker so fluently, and do you use different cues for the 2 games?
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question, and I don't know is the honest answer. I think it's the fact that back in my younger days, I used to play snooker with the same trepidation as I do pool now. So pool means a lot to me in terms of I want to win. It means a lot. I want to do well. Whereas snooker, I play it purely for the social and fun aspect. Yes, I'm still really competitive when I'm playing, but it's not the be all and end all anymore. And I think it's just purely my mind and the fact that I was a decent player at snooker in my younger days that I'm able to play and switch between the 2. And, as I say, I've surprised myself really, because I am doing really well at snooker and playing just as well as I probably ever did in sometimes, without any practice. And people laugh at me and say, you're on the table more on the cloth and all this stuff. I genuinely, hand on heart, do not play snooker more than a couple of times a month. Recently I've played perhaps a tad more with, I've been into Jay Bullen's unit in Exeter a couple of times leading up to this last event. And there's another event in a couple of weeks, so I might sneak in a couple of hours here and there. But as a rule, it's just pool. But I think the fact that I'm queuing all the time with pool, you're queuing, aren't you? So it's the same. You are essentially practicing, because you're still having that muscle memory. And maybe that's what's helped. Maybe that's what made it easier. And in regards to cues, yeah, I've got my own range of cues out now. And I use one for pool and one for snooker, and they're time-made cues, really, really good quality. And yeah, I picked up one, and with me and Pete, who I run it with, he tried one, I tried one, we didn't like it. Then we picked up another. I think it was the second or third cue I picked up. I just thought, bloody hell, this is awesome. Excuse the language. Yeah, I've just stuck with that for the snooker, and similar for pool. I've been using a new pool cue for the last probably 3 weeks. Really like it. I had a Jason Owen cue prior to this one, and Jason Owen's cue are phenomenal, by the way. I've still got it here. I'm not going to sell it, but it would be pretty bad if someone said, what cue you using? And I wasn't saying my own cue, So I've made the change to this one and really like it.
So sticking on the cue theme, question from Murphy Lynn: what size tip do you use for your playing cue and why?
8.5 mil for pool, and for me, purely the fact that before I played snooker with a 10 mil tip or just shy of a 10 mil tip, I had to go down. I started playing pool, and I think I actually initially tried with my snooker cue, and I was like, am I in bottom, top, or center here? Because the ball was so much smaller, so I had to naturally go down, and I found that an 8.5 was just about right for me. I know Shane uses like a 10 or a 9.5 or something. I
Crazy, isn't it?
can't believe he can manipulate the white as well as he does with that size tip.
So we've actually got a French member in the group, and we were sort of asking him about the questions and said that we're doing this with an ultimate pool professional, and he the language barrier of like, by professional in France, that means somebody that is their sole income. So we kind of got over the language barrier, but we thought it'd be nice to say, what is your actual day job, if you don't mind telling people?
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I am a commercial manager for a 3D printing and prototyping company based in Sheffield. So I work from home and pop up to Sheffield sort of once or twice a month. I've been doing that for just over a year and a half now. Previous to that, I worked from home during COVID for a internet publishing company. I've always been in sales, so I've always managed to sort of get on well with people, and yeah, that's what I'm currently doing, and yeah, that's my proper job.
So you're gonna have to make a little trip up to Sheffield around sort of end of April, May next year. Is that the plan?
Uh, well, I'm going up. I go up to the office once or twice a month, and I'm going up there again next week, actually. But
You have to book your tickets for the Crucible.
oh, for the Crucible, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I'll make sure I book off some holiday as well. But funnily enough, I mean, I went to the Crucible and watched Sam Baird, who's one of my best friends, and I used to practice with him in our local con club years ago. And he was a phenomenal player. He was absolutely brilliant. And I was fortunate enough to go up to the Crucible and watch him play a couple of times up there. So even
Was
though
he
I
there
didn't
a couple times?
say again.
Was he there a couple times, or was it just the
Yeah, he was
once?
there a couple of times. He lost to Bingham in one of the events, and he beat Michael White and lost to Selby in one of the other times he was there. He did really, really well. He took Selby, all the way pretty much.
So the next question is from Michael Towers. You kind of again, you've answered this already. So he says, how do you find the playability of the new Rasson Apollo compared to the Supreme? And are you a fan of the new cloth and balls?
Yeah, I'm very much a fan of the new cloth and the balls. The new balls are slightly heavier than the old, and I quite like that because it plays more like a snooker ball for me. So I quite like the fact that it's slightly heavier. It plays, in my opinion, a bit truer. Cloth's amazing, really reactive. Definitely the best cloth we played on. My only thing is the pocket size. I'd love for something to be potentially done about that in the future. Maybe if it's just even for the professional tables at those events. I don't know, because just from a selfish point of view, I think it would help me.
Yeah, it's a leveler, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, I think if you look at some of the clearances that are getting taken out, in my opinion, sometimes people are going about things the wrong way, pattern wise, and getting away with it to a certain extent because they know they can leave themselves a long one down the rail, and there's not much pressure on them. As long as they're within reasonable distance of the pocket, it's going in. So it's not a criticism. I just think that would be my only thing I would change if I could.
Yeah, because the design of the table was amazing, isn't it?
Amazing. Yeah, absolutely amazing. Look incredible. The cloth's so good in my opinion. Yeah, everything's great. It's just I just feel like the pockets are just too big.
Brilliant. Right, so we're on to the last question, which we're going to ask everybody that we get on, and it is, what is the best piece of advice that you've taken with you through your Q Sports career?
Oh, blimey.
Take your time.
I think I was told when I was pretty young to, and I'm sure it was Davis that originally came up with the concept of playing the game or playing any game as if it means nothing, when it means absolutely everything. And even though I've never been able to do that, I do believe that that is the most important thing you can do. And I also believe that that's why, of late, my snooker has gone through the roof, because I'm playing that game with no real expectation, complete freedom, but total enjoyment. And if you look at that and you associate it with pool when you're a junior, all you do is just enjoy the whole point of just playing pool and the freedom in your mind. You're not worried about twitching up on the black and all the rest of the garbage that goes
You
through
don't
your
have the
mind.
scars.
Yeah, you don't have the battle scars. Exactly right. So I think that's probably the best piece of advice that sticks with me now, is trying to play these games as if it doesn't mean anything when you know it does,
Well, I think that shows how important Steve Davis was to Q Sports, because we've done 2 podcasts and both people are giving the same answer to this.
Okay.
He said this, as soon as you said Steve Davis, I was like, here we go.
Oh, no. I'll try and we'll cut that. I'll come up with
No, that's brilliant. Well, Greg, thank you very much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you.
We wish you and your wife all the best for the future. Hopefully the good news keeps on coming. And best of luck for December, the Pro Cup, and moving on to next year.
Brilliant. Thanks for inviting me, guys. And see you both soon.
Take care, mate.
Cheers, Greg.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye.